This is Katie, co-host of Coffee with Keith and Katie. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Ryan Pierce, host of Completely Serious here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Completely Serious, where we talk about sports and have fun with great guests. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you'll never miss an episode of Completely Serious. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Today's verse of the day comes from John 20:29. Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Welcome to the Verse of the Day podcast presented by Public House Media. I'm your host, Baxter Colburn. Thanks for being here on this episode. We are edging towards our goal of 100 shows here on Verse of the Day. And just so you are aware, for those that have been listening from the very beginning, first of all, thank you for doing that. And for those that are new to the show, thank you for listening as well, too. We are working our way towards 100 shows, and then we are going to go on a break for a little while, and then bring the show back after a couple of weeks. So just so you're aware, this is episode 93, so in 7 more shows, once we hit 100, we are going to be going on a break for a couple of weeks. And stay tuned. We'll definitely be coming back. Just keep an eye on the Facebook and Instagram pages for Verse of the Day, and you'll be able to get more information as we move along. If you do want to get more information about the show, of course, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and wherever you find your podcasts. Believing without seeing is arguably one of the most difficult things we have to do as Christians. I think one of the best ways to relate back to this, though, has to do with the almighty, the most popular, most polarizing figure out there. Yes, I'm talking about Santa Claus. How many children and some adults that don't know how to give up their children thoughts as well believe in Santa? Now, arguably, people say that, well, I can see Santa. I can see him at the mall. I can see the depiction of Santa. But then Santa, quote-unquote, comes to your house on Christmas and leaves Christmas gifts, and then he's gone. But you never really see Santa. You just see the acts of Santa, and then you reap the benefits of what Santa did while you were gone or while you were sleeping. I also want to apologize immediately if I've also just completely ruined any family dynamics and their parents and children were listening together, and now I've just ruined Santa. So first of all, I apologize and completely understand and accept your unsubscribe if that's how you end up going about it. But the thought process behind Santa, the thought process behind the Easter Bunny, behind the Tooth Fairy, among any other superstition made-up being is very similar to our belief in Christ. First of all, how awesome is it that the disciples and the early church got to experience Jesus Christ in his full human flesh? He was fully human and fully God at the same time. He was on the earth for only 33 years, but how cool that every single person that got to experience life with Jesus was forever changed, and then their family was forever changed, and the generations after that were forever changed as well, too. We are never going to meet Jesus in this setting. We'll see him when he comes again, and when we die and go to heaven, we will see him. But we will never just walk down the street and run into good old JC hanging out at the local coffee shop drinking a mocha. It's just not going to happen. We are going to experience different scenarios where we're going to maybe see God or see Jesus through somebody or through an experience, but we ourselves are never going to be fully in touch with who Jesus is physically. And if you ever want to question whether or not Christianity is growing, look at how many people have kept the faith since Jesus died over 2,000 years ago. And how many new people have come into the faith since that time as well, too. There's millions, if not billions, of people that believe that Jesus Christ came and died for their sins and has been able to offer a resurrection power, a saving grace that has washed away their sins, that has given us this ticket to go to heaven when we die, that they've never met him. They don't know who this Jesus is, but they've experienced his love and his salvation and his grace because so many people for generations from past have met him and then have carried the tradition and the stories on and the belief that Jesus Christ died for us. It's amazing because Jesus says it so plain here in this verse, but it's so powerful. Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. I interpret this in the sense that Jesus is saying those that have seen him basically are supposed to believe. It's kind of a given. But he's saying, blessed are those who haven't seen me and still have believed. He is calling out those that have never seen him, that will never see him during their time on earth, and are believers. That's so much more powerful than just somebody that is just there. That's just with God. Don't get me wrong, the disciples, the early church, all of those believers all played a pivotal role. But we now in the 21st century have seen have believed without seeing, and that ultimately is the saving grace and the saving power that has provided such a powerful ending for us. We know where we're going to go when we die. So have that faith, have that belief that you can trust God and you can believe in something, someone that you will not and cannot see until he comes again, until we die and go to heaven. And I know we all very much appreciate when we can physically see somebody, meet somebody, hear them, but I'm pretty positive that if Jesus Christ had not actually come and had not actually been as revolutionary and as monumental of a leader and an influencer, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Churches would not be existing right now. Millions, if not billions of people would not have come to the faith and received ultimate salvation if they did not believe, if there wasn't something truly to believe in. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, there is hope, there is love, there is faith, there is so much salvation for us to believe in. Take heart, take love, and ultimately take that blind faith, that seeing without, or that believing without seeing, and love everyone and embrace God, because that is ultimately what we're called to do. Believing without seeing, apply it and love it and learn from it, because you will not be disappointed. You've been listening to the Verse of the Day podcast presented by Public House Media. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Verse of the Day. I hope you'll go and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Google Play Music as well. A new episode comes out every Monday through Friday. You won't want to miss it. More information about Verse of the Day can be found by heading over to thephmedia.com.